Our first speaker is from a place where children don't have to go to school until they're age 7, and there are no tests. And all the kids go to school very happily and play with the teachers. And the teachers are highly respected in the community. People look up to them like they are lawyers and doctors. So, yes, Mr. Niko Lindholm from Disneyland.
Thank you. So, which character would I be? Mickey Mouse? All right. Good morning, everyone. I was just telling, who was it? Hung is somewhere, that I'm very bad morning person. I get my brain doesn't work in the morning, so let's see how this works now. Yeah, as said, my name is Niko Lindholm. I am from Finland. I'm currently living in Shanghai, working on my PhD on Finnish public diplomacy. So no, I'm not a Finnish teacher. I'm not trained by any faculty of education in Finland. I'm a political scientist. I'm a structures geek. I like to look at structures. During my education in Finland, in university, I did research on the Japanese education reform and how nationalism is incorporated into the education system. So I like these kinds of things. I thought I should introduce myself before we go into the facts and numbers, so you understand my background. Now I'm, during the past 4 or 5 years, I was working for the government. Finnish education is apparently something that everyone wants. This is a very big surprise for us, because we didn't create the system to compete or anything else. It was created for ourselves, and then apparently it's very good. And then the government started to think that, all right, maybe we should share it with the rest of the world, and we established a national education export or exchange program. And I was working as a project manager or a public diplomacy officer for that program for 4 years. I was responsible for our national operations in Saudi Arabia, Middle East, and then in East Asia, China. And then after 4 years of traveling around the world and promoting Finnish education and discussing with government officials, I got tired. And I went back to the university, and then now I'm doing my PhD on Finnish education export as a tool for Finnish public diplomacy. And the idea is to try to find out if that is actually Finnish soft power. So I'm looking at the impact when we transfer Finnish education know-how to other countries and other education systems. No one has actually done that before, so it's interesting for us as Finns as well, and of course for the host countries. All right. Do I have an hour or 45 minutes? 45 minutes, all right, I'll be quick. All right, first slide and the next ones. This is going to be warning, this is going to be very boring. I'm very sorry about that. But why it's going to be boring is that if I just talk about Finnish teachers, all right, then you get an understanding of how the teachers work and what's their daily life and how do they interact with the pupils and so on. But that's not the secret of the Finnish system. I mean, then you don't get an understanding why the Finnish system is so good. So I really have to introduce the system very briefly in order to understand how everything is interlinked. So I'm doing that because that has been the problem for me in my past working for the government for so long. Everyone wants it. Bring it to us. Give us the secret of the Finnish education system. Then I have to tell them I can't. I would have to bring Finland to you, and it doesn't really work. I can't transfer Finland to Saudi Arabia. Impossible task. But we can transfer bits and pieces from Finland to other countries and other systems. So, brief introduction to the actual system, and then I'm going to emphasize 2 things. The first one is, of course, the teachers. I have to talk a little bit about those, and then shortly about special education in Finland. Special education, this is interesting from our part as a Finns, because especially in East Asia, when you talk, and also in the Middle East, when you talk with people, they're always asking, what do you do with the gifted students? We say we don't do anything with the gifted students. I mean, if they're gifted, they're gifted. The purpose of the system is to support everyone, especially those ones who are a bit slower. We need to have everyone on board. 5 million people in Finland, we need to stay competitive, we need to support everyone, and everyone needs to be taken care of. So we emphasize that. We bring everyone up to a certain level and not support the elite, which is one word I don't really understand as a Finn when it comes to education. I was interviewed a few days ago, and the interviewer asked, what do you do with the elite students? I was like, what? Elite students? We don't have any elite students. Which button is it? Oh. All right, so how do you do it? I've been talking about this quite a lot, because it's always asked, how do you do it? How do you do it? And then I go back to, well, it's because of the system, blah, 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 blah. And I have to do it again, of course. Well, as I said, huge surprise for us as Finns that we are good. It's very typical for our mentality coming from cold northern country where we just do and innovate stuff in order to survive because it's so cold. No, that's true. Some people say that's why we are innovative, because it's so cold. We actually have to do it, innovate. So then there was the famous PISA tests. They came out, 2009? When was the first one? And then there is Finland #1. Next week, the media in Finland. Apparently we are the best in the world. And then we'll start researching ourselves. How is this possible? But it was a nice surprise. So all this started from the PISA tests, of course. So everyone wants to come to Finland and see how we do. Well, I say, and of course, experts, older, more experienced than I do, say that there is no actual secret. Once again, it's the system, interlinkages, why it's created as it's created, and constant reform. We don't reform when there's an election and then the next party, conservative or left or center or green party, they say, no, this is not good. The education system should be like this. And then they overhaul the whole system, as happens in many other countries. We don't do that. That's why I say education in Finland is apolitical. The different political parties in Finland, they do understand that education should be something that it's for long term. You don't touch it. It's the national treasure. It's the only way that we can actually survive in this competitive world. So all the different political parties support the education system, and they leave it to the experts and the officials who have the long-term experience in doing education and education reform. So that's why it's constant. It doesn't change in every election. All right, as I said, I'll just go through the education system briefly, and I leave it up to you. It's up to you to decide. Is it different? How is it different? Then I look a little bit at the teachers, backbone of the system, and then a little bit at the special education. So I'm going to go through these slides very quickly so that you don't start sleeping. Because as I said, it's going to be boring. It's numbers and facts about system. I'm going to show 2 videos. So these slides that I'm showing now, they are just information, and then when you look at the video, that sums up the whole thing that I've been talking about. So I hope that you can concentrate on the videos more than this robot from Disneyland. As I said, boring. Look at this. The system. So I'm not going to talk that much about it, but because we're talking about the system, I have to introduce it. And of course, anyone who wants the slides, just send an email to the organizers and you're free to have them. So it's 2-tracked. We have the so-called academic line and then we have the vocational line. But the difference here is that it's not closed. There are no dead ends in the Finnish system. Is there a... So I'm going to be talking about this level today. So this is the so-called vocational track and then the academic track. I don't like those words, but it's in international language you use them, so I use them. As I said, the good thing about the system is that there are no dead ends. If you go to the vocational track after upper secondary school, you're always able to go back to the universities. If you go to the academic track, you can always go back to the vocational track, so-called. So that's one of the, as we see it, strengths of the system. It supports lifelong learning. You can always train yourself into new occupations and whatever. Numbers and facts, as I said. So, the important thing here is, in my view, of course, the dropout rate, very low. And then here we look at when you look at the difference, how many people go to the academic track and how many people go to vocational track. So 50-50. About 20 years ago, more people wanted to go to the academic side, academic track. Then we understood in Finland that that needs to be changed. We need to have people who are professionals in what they do. So there was quite a big major overhaul in the system when it comes to the vocational side. So we started to promote it, and of course the salaries were raised, and which is partly because of the market situation. If there's no professionals, they're able to demand more money and so on. But in the past 20 years we have been successful in making vocational education attractive. And those people who are doing vocational education, they are very proud of it. They don't see that they are something less when it comes to comparing themselves or other people comparing them to the ones who are in the universities. So if you are a plumber, you're actually good at something. And I feel very humbled when I talk with plumbers and they come to my house and I can't do anything. So they are the professionals. I'm just the, as I said, robot talking here. All right. One key aspect as a Finn and how we like to see it, why the system is good, is because the system is based on equality. The whole purpose of the education system, one of the main purposes is to be equal and give every pupil, citizen in Finland, the same opportunities. So that's why, of course, the education in Finland is free, all the way to university. Even universities are free, completely free. When I went to university, as do people, of course, today, they actually get subsidized they get paid to go to university. So they get approximately 500 euros per month to go to university. So we pay high taxes, we're a Nordic welfare country, but we reap the benefits, so it's very good. But as I said, the equality is the most important thing for us. And of course, it was in Albert's speech, or at least in the leaflet, you talk about the daily meals, I think. Maybe in the leaflet. So food in schools, that's also subsidized by the government, so free daily meals. Funding, of course, this once again quite boring. How does it work? So of course the funding comes partly from the government, but mainly from the local authorities. So we don't have state schools, we have municipal schools. So 1/3 approximately of the funding to the municipal schools comes from the government, and then 2/3 from the local government. So the local taxes are collected for that purpose. And I have to be quick, so I'm not going to go through every bullet point that I have here. All right, so the Ministry of Education is, of course, the one who decides the policy, what we are going to do in long term and how and so on. And then we have the Finnish National Board of Education that then draws up the curricula. But when it's implemented, of course, once again on the local level. So the local municipalities are the one who will actually implement it. And they are able to take some local considerations when they are implementing the curriculum. But this autonomy word here is important because the municipalities delegate some of the decision-making power to the schools. So the schools are in this sense, politically independent. So they are able to do their own decisions. Quality assurance. No school inspectors in Finland. The education system is based on trust and responsibility. Trust, that word is the key in this presentation. I'll come back to that. But trust and responsibility. People ask me, all right, how do you do it once again? And I say, okay, education is a national, everyone owns the education in a way. We need to work together in order to keep Finland competitive and survive in the world. So how do we do it? Okay, we need trust. We need to trust each other nationwide to be able to do this. And the other point here, of course, the teachers. I'll come back to that. The word trust and teachers and how the system relies on the teachers and their professional work is very important. All right. This is interesting. Self-evaluation. Well, teachers self-evaluate themselves. Students, pupils self-evaluate themselves. Evaluation doesn't come from top. There's no inspectors. There's no, where we have the higher education evaluation commission, but when it comes to the comprehensive school, primary and upper secondary, so there's no one evaluating the whole system. It's trust once again, and because of that, there's no ranking of schools, no official ranking. So the school in Helsinki, where I live, is as good as the one in Lapland. So we don't rank them, but we trust that whenever I send my kid, I don't have any kids, but whenever someone sends his kids to school in Helsinki, and then they would next week move up to Lapland, 1,000 kilometers north, they would receive the same education with the same results. What else do I... Yes. All right. Once again, one of the tasks of the basic education is to develop pupils' capabilities for self-assessment. I think this is quite important here too. And this once again somehow accumulates the word, or not the word, but the idea of trust into society, in my view. So I have, okay, yep. So this is, of course, this part, the next second bullet point here is important. As earlier noted, we do have the Finnish National Board of Education, which then draws up the core curricula, national core curricula, and then it's implemented on the local level, which then gives some, well, very heavy freedom to the schools. And within the schools, the teachers are autonomous. They are able to do their own decisions how to implement the curricula. So they only have, well, a certain list of learning outcomes that should be achieved by the end of the year. But how you teach, when you teach, what kind of material you use, it's up to the teacher to decide. So the teachers are seen as, well, once again, the backbone of the system and creating the whole trust. All right. As the host said, no national tests, that's true. And the only national examination that we have is after the upper secondary school. It's called matriculation exam, which is then used when you try to apply to university. So that's the only one that we do have. All right, this one is the most important. First of all, there's some colors. I like it. I was listening to the speeches yesterday, and then I've been talking with many people from Hong Kong, and this is a little bit of reflection from yesterday, and I can feel the anxiety that people have here. I can really feel it, and I started to feel it too, and I was like, "Ooh, this is not politically correct, horrible, but it feels really heavy to listen to these things." And then I started thinking, all right, what could be the difference when it comes to comparing Hong Kong and Finland, and of course mainland China or most East Asian countries. So in my view, it's this, the whole chart, or this one here. I guess this is the thing that happens in Hong Kong. Of course, then there's the government, parliament, Ministry of Education. It sets the laws, policies, strategy, and steers. And then, of course, the National Board of Education sets the core curriculum. It's localized, and then well, the schools implement it here. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, I might be very wrong here, but in Hong Kong it ends there. Because in Finland, there's reflection. So first these do discuss, reflection. All right, is it good or not? Okay, then they drop down one level and they discuss, is it good or not? Is it doable? Is it good for us? All right, then it's dropped one level again. And they discuss, reflection, is it good or not? Is it good curriculum? Is it good for the country? Is it good for the students? Especially is it good for the pupils, the students, the children, the future citizens, or not citizens, but the workforce of Finland, for example. And then it drops down one level again, and there's reflection. So, when, as I said, in the was the second slide, constant reform. This means constant reform in Finland. The things go down from the government to the local level, and then it goes up again. So it's like this. And it doesn't happen after every election, when a new party comes in. It's every day. Every day this happens. Mostly, of course, on this level. And when the teachers see that, all right, this is not doable, it doesn't really work, they take it up, the ladders, and it goes all the way back to the government. And then they might change some policies. And then so on. Another point here is which is interesting is, of course, the teachers, once again the backbone of the system, are seen as researchers. I'll come back to that soon. They are seen as researchers. They're highly educated. They're not only teachers, but they are taught to research at the same time. So they are able to do research within their own classroom, in daily life, in daily schoolwork. So when they do that, they test different kinds of methods and so on. They find out something, they share it within the school, within their own school community, and they try to multiply the tests. Okay, all right, then we find out this is very good, this is how we should do it. And then they maybe multiply it in the municipality, the tests. And when that's done, it starts to go up. It goes all the way to the government, and change starts to happen. So the change in Finland, it's not change from top down, but sometimes it happens the other way around. Because the teachers know best what should be done. All right, then I come to the teacher in Finland. Yesterday, Professor Albert talked about South Korean system and how teachers are valued and how they are able to get the best and brightest minds into the teaching job. Well, the same is in Finland. In Finland, as the host also said, teachers are respected, very highly respected professionals, and at the same time they are quite smart. I don't like to use the word elite, coming from a Nordic welfare country. But in this case, I would like to use it. Lawyers, doctors, and teachers. They are the elite in Finland. So, in year 2011, 2012, and 2013, these are the applicants who try to get into the faculty. We have five faculties of education in Finland. So these are the numbers who try to get into the faculty of education. These are the one who are selected. So around 10% are selected. And the selection process is interesting. Of course, they test their academic skills and so on, but then there are like aptitude tests, psychological tests. Are you up to the task? Are you good enough to teach some other people's children? And so on. So the whole idea for the teacher, him or herself, of being a respected professional starts from there. Because if I get in, I know I'm respected, I'm good. So I have a pride in my profession. And I'm supposed to be a torchbearer for the nation. So that's why it's important. So the whole idea of Finnish teacher and the importance and why we value it, once again, comes back to Finnish history, political system, and culture. I'll give you the example of the history. For 600 years, until 1809, we were under the Swedish rule. So nowadays Finland is a bilingual country because of that. We speak Finnish. I myself am bilingual. I'm from the southwest coast, so Lindholm is a Swedish last name. So I speak Swedish and Finnish. So the historical fact there. During that time, of course, we were seen as a, well, I don't know if this is politically correct once again, but I'll just use the word, a colony of Sweden, where they just reaped the benefits, our woods and our people, when they needed war with some other countries. So we had our own language, we had our own idea of Finnish culture and so on. So we somehow we had to keep it like that, so that we don't become Swedes. And then it started, and the bright minds in Finland, philosophers and educators, they saw that the way to keep Finland Finnish is through education. We need to use the education system in order to share knowledge, what it is to be a Finn, our language and so on. And then Russia and Sweden, they fought a war in 1809. Russians won, became part of Russia. Completely new language family, I mean, completely different culture, political system, Sweden, Russia, even today. And the Russians tried to make us Russians. And once again, education was the key. How do we keep ourselves strong and independent, autonomous against these barbaric people from outside Finland? So education. That's how we spread the knowledge that we are Finns, and we need to keep ourselves strong. And of course, so that's the historical background, why education is so important, why it's valued. And when it comes to the education itself, so who are the ones who are doing it? So the teachers were the ones who keep us strong. So we have always seen that the teachers are like the torchbearers of the nation. So they are the one who leads us to a good future. And when we were fighting for independence, or during that time, there were movements run by the teachers, the torchbearers. They were on the barricades. So it's because of history. One fact why we are so highly respected now, why teachers are respected. All right, teachers. Everyone should have a master's degree. I don't know if it's the same here. Is it? No? Yeah. In Finland it is. You're not allowed to be a teacher if you don't have a master's degree. You have to know certain things. You have to be a researcher at the same time. When it comes to kindergarten, bachelor's enough. As I said, the teacher education in Finland is good because we are able to choose and pick the best suitable people for that job, and they are tested. And as I said, 5 faculties of education, so they are the one who then train them and create the criteria independently, because they have, of course, a little bit different research areas, how they do. And then the only national test that we have when people are 18 is used for that entrance exam, matriculation exam. As I said, teaching and research, that's very important. Why? Of course, because the teachers need to be able to create something new constantly for the constant reform that we have in Finland. So they are the one that are behind the whole constant reform that we are doing in everyday life in schools. And then they share their know-how, what they find from their research. I'm going to show you a video the video that I'm going to show you. So there's a short clip about the teacher training. So you can actually visit a session and you see how they are doing this. So, Albert, also you talked about the that there should be schools where teacher students go to practice their skill and hone their skills. So this is what we have in Finland. So every faculty of education, or that university that has a faculty of education, they have a so-called normal school, which is a municipal school, but it's very heavily tied to that university. So this is where the teacher students go and do their practice. And the system is very good because, of course, they spend time in the university and they learn things, theories, pedagogical stuff, methods, and so on. Then they go to the school and they practice and they have a mentor. There's the more experienced teacher who is following their practice and supporting them in the whole process. At the same time, the university is able to use that normal school as a test ground. So new research, new methods that are being developed in those universities are transferred into the normal school, and the teacher students are testing them out in the school, and then that feedback goes back to the university. So there's once again constant development between the universities and the schools. Autonomy. All right. The Finnish system is based on trust in teachers and teacher education. So the backbone of the system is once again the teacher. As I said, teachers have autonomy in the classroom. How do you teach? When do you teach? What kind of materials you use in order to support that teaching process? It's up to the teacher. There's no thick book what you should be doing. You go to the university, you get trained as a teacher, and then the system and the people around you trust that you're capable of doing your job and research at the same time. And then you are then once again giving back something to the whole system and constant reform. Yes. What's the secret of the Finnish system of success? It's the system. Things are linked. We made it in order to support ourselves, our own nation, our own national development, to be more competitive in the globalized world. And we succeeded. Apparently, according to the rest of the world, we are happy. These are the key core elements that I would say that we have in the system. All right, and the video. How does the video? I click on this. So now it's 10 minutes. It sums up what I told you. You get to visit the school in a way. There's our former Minister of Education talking, so we have a new one. But I hope you see and understand.
I think one of the most important political issues in Finland is that we want to have the system where all the pupils and all the people have the equal opportunities and education, and it doesn't matter where you are living, or are you rich or poor, or are you girl or boy. We want to give equal opportunities for everyone.
Finland restructured totally basic education in the 1970s. It was a very centralistic reform. During 1980s, we began to decentralize powers to municipalities. Especially during 1990s, we decentralized a lot of decision-making powers to education providers. And even, of course, on our schools and teachers a lot. And that's, of course, because we have highly trained teachers and we can actually give them many, many tasks.
Mä luen tämmöisen tarinan kuin Ankat ja kettu. Siinä on, tuolla on tuo kettu ja siellä on 2 ankkaa. Ja kuunnelkaa tarkasti nyt, mitä tässä tapahtuu. Mä vaan näkisin, mitä tässä.
In Finland, if we are looking at our educational system, the basic education, it's very decentralized. So the municipalities, they are running the schools and they have the responsible of the schools. But of course we have the basic education legislation, it's in national level, and then we have also national core curricula. But the schools and municipalities, they have also quite much freedom themselves.
Okej, vem av er har läst Naomi Kleins bok No Logo?
Se on vähän vaikea sanoa ruotsiksi.
Meningen var
Att man tycker om logo mer om en produkt som man köper Adidas.
Teaching profession in Finland has always been popular, and this is what I hear in many other countries, that teaching used to be a very popular profession among young people. I think the good question is that how Finland has been able to maintain teaching in a school as something that attracts young people. And I think that what distinguishes our schools from the many other schools that we have been able to keep teaching profession firstly intellectually attractive and interesting for teachers. In other words, that our teachers, they feel that they can use the knowledge and skills that they learn in teacher education fully. They have a role in curriculum planning and design. They have a very important role in assessing students' performance.
Teacher as a profession is very appreciated in Finland. But it's interesting that it has maintained its appeal also to young Finns. It's one of the professions actually what comes after doctors and lawyers, a very appealing one to young Finns.
I think one of the main reasons behind the good learning outcomes and results is the good teacher education. All the teachers, they have master's degree from the university in Finland, and because the teacher's profession is very highly appreciated in Finnish society, so it means that all the universities, they can select the best students to become a teacher. So of course it's helped because then they can get the most motivated and best people to become a teacher.
Kokeiluskokkikerrossa on tänä syksynä 41 ja viime syksynä 7 vähemmän. Niin paljonko siellä on osia?
Näinkö?
Just, joo. Näytä sitä sun sormen. Onko se kiva?
Toi.
Our idea is that every teacher must be educated in universities. All teachers are master degree. It is very important. And by this way, we hope that we can connect very well theory and practice. Our specialty is also teacher training schools, where students which are in teacher education can practice those things which they have studied in theory in university.
So the teacher trainees need to have a certain amount of years of their subject learned at the university before they can enter the teacher training program. Teacher training for subject teachers lasts for a year, and so initially they start with theory. They are at the university for some weeks. Then they come to us for a period of orientation where they meet their mentor teachers and they get to see the classrooms. And then there's a period during which they teach in pairs. After that, they go back to the university to get some more theory. They also have now some experience. They're able to maybe ask different questions because they have some experience from the practical side of things. And so it's kind of a wave back and forth between coming to get the practical side at the school and then going back to gain some more information regarding theory.
Onko tytöt lukenut? Hyvä. Sitten luette hetken vielä uudestaan. Tutkikaapa, löydättekö te sieltä, mitä runon merkkejä te löydätte tästä?
This is a teacher-student now.
Research is integrated in development of teaching learning practices. We have invested quite a lot of money in educational research or research of education psychology, special education, policy of education, so that when we compare the amount of researchers in this field with other countries, I think that we have invested a lot. And this means that we have quite a large research space for developing educational policy, for developing teaching learning environments, to developing educational materials and so on. And because we have researchers, we also can very deeply follow what is happening in the world.
Sitten me eilen osan porukan kanssa jo vähän harjoiteltiin muistinumeron laittamista. Laske ensimmäisestä laskusta ykköset yhteen. Resa. Hyvä. Mikä luku tulee keltaiseen ruutuun?
2.
Resa.
2.
Becoming teachers are seeing how we as subject teachers work in their in-service training. On a classroom setting, we also want to provide them with the tools and information how to then be able to tackle the same kind of problems after they have finished their teacher training and enter their first workplace. And we've designed, together with colleagues, a mentoring program.
Sitten 7 siihen alapuolelle. Kumpaan ruutuun se tulee? Eikö tule ykkösten ruutuun? Joo. Siihen. Ja sitten sen alapuolelle vielä 43. Sinne.
If we take a look at how the practical training in teacher training schools or part of the teacher training here works, there's an important element that we call mentoring or supervision actually. So the normal cycle is you have a meeting with a senior teacher first, you go through your plan, you explain what do you want to do, then you run the class, your lesson, and this teacher is observing this, and then afterwards you have this mentoring type of meeting where you go through the different ideas of what you saw in a class.
Ehditkö tuossa sanoa jo noista ongelmista on taulun kanssa? Niin, no, ne on asioita, jotka on teknisiä juttuja ja me tullaan saamaan uusi toi keskusyksikkö, niin se menee siitä.
Joo,
ne häipyy, mutta sä hyvin sovelsit.
Joo,
ja sä huomasit itsekin, miten se häiritsi se, kun sä joudut tulemaan tänne tossa tekemään, kun sen kaiken olisi pitänyt pystyä tekemään tossa taululla. Mutta se on tekninen asia, se korjataan tässä lähiaikoina, toivotaan.
Eli on tosi paljon hyötyä, että annetaan palautetta tuntien jälkeen, eli huomaa semmoisia asioita, mitä ei itse huomaa tunnilta ja ymmärtää paremmin, ketkä on oppinut ja mitä on opittu. Ja siitä on todella paljon hyötyä, että ei itse huomaa semmoisia asioita tuolla tunnilla, niin opettaja sitten kertoo ja samoin kuin että huomaa, että mitkä tehtävät on ymmärretty ja mitkä ei ja muuta, niin opettajasta on paljon ollut hyötyä antamaan neuvoa.
Me voimme todeta, että
All right, so that was a clip I wanted to show to you. It was 10 minutes, but I think it's more practical for you to see what's actually going in the classroom and how they work together and how the experts in Finland see it. And that's something that actually there's many people abroad coming to see the system, and when they are brought into Finland, they are usually brought into these normal schools to see how the system works, because that's the core of the whole system. All right, now just briefly about special education in Finland, and I'll continue with that same video because there's a special education part. I want to show it to you because it actually opens up how it works in Finland. So there was lots of discussion about the SEN yesterday here at the conference. So that's why I think it's important that you understand how we do it in Finland. According to my understanding, what I understood yesterday, it's same, but it's different. So we'll try to show through the video how it works. So once again, coming back to the ideological, philosophical background of special education in Finland, of course, we see that the potential of each pupil should be maximized. That's why we have so-called special education that supports students that need that, and then guidance and counseling that shows the pupils and students which way they should go, what kind of problems they have, and how they should be developing and tackling those challenges. Yesterday, you used the word integrated education. So, I mean, inclusive, integrated. So we have the same in Finland. So the students that need special attention, they are in the normal classroom with the mainstream pupils and students. Then, I don't know about Hong Kong. Okay, yes. But do you have teacher assistants? Yes. All right. Very minor difference between Hong Kong and Finland. Because we see, as you see, that education should be student-centered. So our teaching assistants, they are not called teaching assistants, they're called learning aids. So we have taken the role from the teacher and we are giving it to the student, the pupil, and their learning process. Learning aids. Small things, but important. Of course, here once again, the whole system, in most other countries, you react when you see a problem in the classroom. Then you start thinking, okay, he or she has problems, he or she needs to go into the special education class, or there should be some extra support for this student. Our system is structured so that the whole system is of special education all the time. So everyone is in special education. We have a class teacher who follows or teaches the pupil students for the first 6 years every subject. So he or she will start to understand the individual needs of individual students. Because they are following the life and the development of the pupil every day. 6 hours. They will get an understanding what's going on. And then, because of this, the system, we are able to actually not tackle the problems, but we are able to see the problems and understand that in the future there might be bigger problems, so we have to do something now. So that's when they are already sent into special education without the pupil even knowing. The pupil doesn't act badly or is nasty, but our teachers see that in the future there might be something. That's why this student needs some extra attention already now. So it's preventing. We call it's proactive. In other countries, maybe it's reactive. I don't know. I haven't been doing comparative studies about this, but that's how we see it. It should be proactive, not reactive. I saw this same chart in one of the SEN presentations yesterday, so I'm not going to go that deep into that. But this is the general support in classroom, and then there are intensified support, 7.3% last year of all the primary and comprehensive schools pupils, and then 6.5% special support. So I don't have time, I will go forward. So, special education in Finland is not actually special education, it's part of the mainstream education. The ones who don't go to special education are special educated. So, once again, we see top down, bottom up, how do you want to see it? It's a bit different. I'll just go briefly in the video because I think I was stolen some time in the beginning. About 5 minutes.
Seitsemän jaettuna 3 on yhtä suuri kuin 2 ja täältä tämä.
The other thing is that I think we are putting a lot of emphasis on the early detection of any difficulties and problems that the students in our schools may have. And this is a very different policy to many other countries where The other countries, other systems may have measures to step in when the problems are, but in most other places that I know, these measures are designed in a way that they are implemented only when the problems have emerged and are too visible. But we don't think like this in Finland. I think we believe in this early intervention and really try to invest in the upfront part of the education process to make sure that those who are likely to be in trouble will be recognized early and provided help and support as quickly as possible.
Individual support is very, very important in Finnish schools and Finnish education system overall. We provide for many pupils and students at every level actually extra help if they are falling behind.
Se on 2 kertaa 2 kertaa 2. Mitä se on potenssimerkinnällä?
Nearly 30% of the pupils, they are having some kind of special support, part-time special support normally, and in the regular education in normal classrooms. It's often that the teacher is having, for example, assistant who is helping the teacher during the lesson and helping those pupils who need more help.
Ja nyt me luetaan meidän kaikki vanhat tutut sanat, mitkä me osataan kaikki nämä. Tämä oli
Allu.
Allu. Tämä oli tuuli. Kaivaa. Pentti.
What happens many times is that the special teacher is available for a couple of hours, and then she picks the student to a separate classroom and helps him or her there. And we also make an individual learning plan for that individual student. And by taking these measures, we try to guarantee that no one is lacking behind.
I think the other thing that is significant in the Finnish case in this respect is that we have much higher rates of those who are recognized or labeled, if you wish, as special needs pupils. If you look at the 15-year-olds or 16-year-old Finns who are leaving this basic school, most of them have been in one or other type of special education throughout their schooling, which means that special education actually is nothing special. So you are a special child or student if you haven't ever used special services. So I think with this we have been able to positively affect both the equity of the system and also the quality of the system that we can see now in these international studies.
Isossa ryhmässä on vaikea keskittyä työskentelemään, niin on tullut tänne ja nyt on tässä pienessäkin ryhmässä ilmennyt.
This is a group of teachers, counselors and other. The whole school takes care of the special education. Now they're discussing about one student.
Todella niin kuin.
Onko niitä ollut aina niitä keskittymisvaikeuksia? Ei, se on ihan uusi.
Ja sen takia mä oonkin nyt niin huolissani, koska mä niin kuin näen, että hänellä olisi kykyä vaikka mihin. Hän on hyvin lahjakas ja nyt kun englannin kielikin on tässä alkanut, niin hän tekee kotona ihan ylimääräisiä töitä englannin kielellä, kirjoittaa pieniä tarinoita jo.
The student welfare team gathers on a weekly basis, and there are many professionals taking part into that team. Subject teachers as the ones who inform the group with different cases. There might be bullying, they might be skipping classes, there might be learning difficulties, there might be behavioral problems, all kinds of things. And the subject teacher is the first one to inform, for example, the school nurse, the school psychologist, student counselor, the principal about these problems. And then these individual problems are dealt with case by case in this weekly meeting that every school in Finland has.
Tämä nyt selkeästi hänellä on tämmöinen ulkonäköongelma itsensä kanssa, että hän niinku kokee olevansa turhan iso. Ja mä sitä yritin nyt sanoa, että kun ei tässä olla nyt kauhean isoja ja näin, että ei ole mitään hätää.
Well, student welfare group deals with any kinds of problems that we see in school, having to do with problems at home or at learning disabilities, multicultural problems. The main value of our student welfare group is to interrupt as soon as possible problems involved.
All right, so now you saw how special education is done in a Finnish school and how the student welfare group meets every week and so on. I took my 5 minutes extra, so I guess all right. 45 minutes, try to open up the whole system, what's good, what's bad. And there are bad things in Finland too, so it's not a Disneyland, be sure of that. So thank you for this. I'll be here the whole day and during the workshop. I was thinking first that I will go to digital education when it comes to the workshop, but I'm quite sure there's going to be some Q&A interest, so I guess we'll go with the flow, and the ones who are coming to my workshop will just discuss, and you have questions, I'll answer them, and then that's the whole idea. I'll change the workshop a little bit because there was no Q&A now. So yes, I would.
Very nice. So you've taken my part. Right. So Niko is going to have 2 workshop sessions in the afternoon. So if you have any questions, come to his session. And so thank you very much.